Hello everyone, and welcome to another Top 5 Records video. Do you recognize that feeling when a specific label within a specific audiophile series announces a new title, and just the fact that this label announces this title is enough to get you really excited because you know what to expect from that type of series and that type of quality? Well, in this video, I'm going to be counting down the top 10 best audiophile vinyl series, which make our audiophile blood start to, the temperature of the blood rise with excitement. I have that. So without further ado, here are they. And starting off with number 10, a rather peculiar one perhaps, and one that just focuses on a single artist, and it's the only one in the series with a single artist. But I could not make this video with this series, the Neil Young official release series. And here I have their release of Harvest, and you can recognize them by this beautiful little logo. Why did I include this? Well, first of all, the quality of these reissues for a very, very fair price is just stunning. Take a look at the cardboard here. The beautiful, thick quality. The quality of the printing. And for me, it's not just about the quality of the printing. The most important thing is how do they master it and how does it sound? And somehow, whenever this series releases something by Neil Young, you can trust that the quality is stunning. Time and time again, when I listen to one of these pressings, I am just blown back by the beautiful detail, the warmth, and how they got to sound that way on vinyl. Now, the one I picked as an example is a peculiar case because the original of this first US pressing is one of those best 70s original US sounding records. I mean, the detail is stunning, the warmth, the texture, the way the voice sounds, the orchestra there. It's a gorgeous pressing. And if you put a gun to my head and I'd had to choose one, I'd choose the original in this case. But having such a spectacular first pressing out there, as close as this gets, it's just impressive, gorgeous. And then it's not just the Harvest one. There are so many gorgeous Neil Young records in the release, like Welt, Ragged Glory, Time Fades Away, On the Beach. It just goes on and on and on. And also a lot of records that are hard to come by. I mean, here in Europe, try and find an original of Harvest. That's quite a job. But this one, you can find it everywhere online. It's the next best thing. And sometimes in the series, this pressing is the first best thing for a beautiful, fair price. At number 10 in this list, the Neil Young Archives official series. At number 9, another rather peculiar one, because this one focuses on a specific genre, and a genre that is not often associated with audiophile, and that is for me one of the reasons why they are specifically interesting. I'm talking about VMP with their country series. Now, you can recognize them by the OB on the side, and you can mostly recognize, and there's a gold stamp here, but mostly you can recognize them by stunning sound quality and releases of records of a genre that are often overlooked by other audiophile labels. I don't know why, but then again, I do not fully understand how the market of country works. Living in the Netherlands, where country never really got big, I don't know how it works with country fans in the United States, but I do love country, and it's always hard to find any record. I mean, if you want a good title, a good country title, most of the times they are hard to find. The one I'm holding here, Folsom Prison, is not specifically hard to find, but I never saw here in the Netherlands or anywhere in Europe a first US pressing. Well, and to have one of these pressings mastered by Ryan Smith at Sterling Sound, one of the great mastering engineers, it's just a gorgeous way to listen to it. And not only that, I also have a beautiful mastered pressing of Townes Van Zandt's live record from 1977 that they did. Hard to find, well, sometimes any copy, but there are lousy reissues. But to have that in this quality, or Waylon Jennings's Honky Tonk Heroes, that VMP pressing just blows away any of my first UK pressings. And still, those are all titles in which it's at all hard to find any pressing, let alone a good pressing. And a first UK is a good pressing. So to compete with that, and that's also one of the reasons why I am ranking these series, because there are great audiophile labels out there. But the last couple of years, some of them keep releasing the same old titles over and over again. While for music collectors, there are so many fascinating records, so many great titles, that they are, well, almost impossible to find in a good shape and in good quality. So at number 9, the VMP Country Series. At number 8, the Blue Note Classic Vinyl Series. You can recognize them by this beautiful sticker. Most of these are mastered by Kevin Gray, one of the best audio engineers or mastering engineers out there. They are of stunning quality. They come from the original tapes, and these original tapes are kept in a most beautiful, gorgeous condition. I haven't heard one of these in this series that sounds bad. And the interesting thing is here that they are not doing any concession on the sound quality, or the cardboard may be a little thin, but, well, that's the only thing they are giving into, so that they can keep their prices low. These pressings, they can easily be found between 20 and 30 bucks. And Blue Note has some of the best jazz titles out there. And if you go into the town, and when I started off collecting jazz, it was just before they started this series or refreshed their classic series, because there was also a series with Bernie Grundman before this, which looked a lot like it, also great quality. But to find an original Blue Note, it's one hell of a job. And to have this available if you're an early starter or even an old starter, because the quality is just amazing. It allows you to dive into the world of brilliant Blue Note jazz without having to pay the big bucks. And that's what's so gorgeous about this series. Brilliant titles, some of the best jazz titles out there, mastered by one of the best mastering engineers from the master tapes for around 20 or 30 bucks. Well, that makes collecting vinyl really worthwhile. At number 8, the Blue Note Classic Vinyl Series. At number 7, this is a relative new discovery for me, and it's the Bluesville Acoustic Sound Series by Kraft Records. Now, you can recognize them also by a blue obi with this label. What makes this such a stellar series? Well, first of all, same thing as with the VMP Country Series. Blues records, although there are some audiophile pressings out there, but as a genre, they are most often overlooked with good sounding reissues. A lot of these blues records get crappy sounding, sometimes even unofficial reissues, and to try and find an original American blues pressing here in the Netherlands and here in Amsterdam, you got a great chance of finding good vinyl, but it's a very tough job. They were not sold in large numbers, I'm not too fond on represses. I really want the full warm sound that these originals have. So I'm so happy with this series because they have started in 2024 and they already released stuff like Albert King's Live Wire Blues Power, Lightning Hopkins with Sonny Terry Last Night Blues, the beautiful Skip James Today, Jimmy Reed's I'm Jimmy Reed, Blind Gary Davis Harlem Street Singer, John Lee Hooker Burning Hell, and they just keep releasing new stuff. Now, I was a little bit skeptical before I put this one on, and I did a video in which I compared this to an original because I thought I found an original, luckily, after a long search, and I found it in near mint shape with the shrink wrap still surrounding it. I was so thrilled. It sounded spectacular. It's a beautiful sound recording, beautiful quality, and I thought, no need for me to listen to an audiophile reissue in that case. Then a friend of mine bought this. We compared it. And this one is even better. It's even better than the original. Mastered by Matthew Luthans. He did the most stunning job with one of the best blues records out there. And I also I listened to more of his work on this series, and he does the most spectacular job. This Bluesville Acoustic Sound Series is a blessing for music fans, and this is the moment to try out blues records, because when they sound good, they sound good. So that's at number 7, the Bluesville Acoustic Sound Series. And there we go to the number 6. And the number 6, I'm thinking of doing a video on this one and going into more detail. But here we have it, the Atlantic 75 Audiophile series by Analogue Productions. This series is, you can recognize it by this sticker. Here you have the Quality Records pressing by Analogue Productions. And this started off, I believe, 2 years ago. Yeah, 2 years ago in 2023, when Atlantic asked Analogue Productions boss Chad Gessam to handpick his favorite releases from Atlantic Records and to do 45 RPM masterings of those records. And honestly, most of these records, there are some examples, but it's not worth stepping into detail, sound better than the originals, which is one incredible job. For example, this one, it is so much better than an original. But even something like My Favorite Things by John Coltrane, Dr. John in the Right Place, John Prine's John Prine, Charles Mingus Blues and Roots, it's a stunning job. T-Bone Walker's T-Bone's Blues, and the list goes on and on and on, and the quality of it is just stunning. Crosby, Stills and Nash beats the original, and by what is possible to beat it. It's by far the best version that I've heard. Use the classic record stampers, but use old stampers if you want to get the best out of it. This is what this series is doing, and price-wise versus quality-wise, they are at the top of their game. These are not too expensive, but you do get a 45 RPM with stunning sound. What an amazing series. The Atlantic 75. 45 RPM. There's also a non-45 version, because they do have the celebration of the Atlantic 75 years old thing. But whenever it says that on the label, double check if it's the Analogue Productions and if it's got 2 discs or even more, so you know that you're not just buying the regular version. You want to get these. It's worth it. At number 6. At number 5. This started off in 2020, and just the announcement was something that got me thrilled. one of the first records I bought of theirs is this one, A Love Supreme, and I'm talking about the Acoustic Sound series, done by Analogue Productions with titles from Verve and Impulse, focusing on jazz. Now, why was I so thrilled? I believe I paid about $30 or $35 for this pressing, and I only had a cheap reissue, not sounding very good. And then you get something like this, beautiful, thick cardboard, sparkling fresh, and the quality of the sleeve is just stunning. I believe the prices have gone up to 40 or 45, but there are moments when in Amsterdam in Concerto I can even find them for $20. $20 for this cardboard and this quality, because we are talking about Analogue Productions hiring the best mastering engineers. Once again, this one's mastered, for example, by... It doesn't say who mastered this one. Ooh, that's a bit of a cheek. I believe it's Ryan K. Smith. Anyway, this is a stunning sounding copy. I also have the UHQR, which with 45 RPM is slightly better, but let's be frank, you'll be paying about 150 or $200 for that, and this is $40 or $30, or when you're lucky, even $20. And we're talking about top of the notch audiophile stuff, and they're choosing brilliant titles. Their Pastel Blues of Nina Simone is a stunning sounding pressing. Their Nina Simone, I Put a Spell on You, is fantastic. I've done a comparison on Zarafan's Zarafan, and this pressing is so many levels above the original. Same can be said about the Gil Evans Orchestra Out of the Cool. I compared that with an original mono, so not the best comparison, but this one, the Acoustic Sound series, blows it away. The Blues and the Abstract Truth by Oliver Nelson, masterpiece of an album. You can go Charles Mingus's Mingus, which is a stunning record. The Black Saint and the Sinner Lady by Charles Mingus, essential jazz stuff here. Ella Fitzgerald, Wishes You Was Swinging Christmas. So many stunning titles for a very affordable price in the highest quality out there. What a gorgeous, beautiful series. At number 5, the Acoustic Sound series. At number 4 in this video, I've had so much fun with these, the Blue Note Tone Poet series. And this was the first one that I bought of the series, and this is one of my most played records. Chad Baker sings. But the thing is, this is what Blue Note does, basically the same thing that the Acoustic Sound series do, only they started earlier. You get gorgeous, fresh, good quality sleeves. Mastering, being mastered by the best mastering engineers out there. It's the same names, basically, as these Acoustic Sound series. And they have access, because it's Blue Note, to the Blue Note titles and some other titles as well, because the Chet Baker Sync was not originally released on Blue Note. The sound quality is stunning, and when people come over and they're skeptical about, oh yeah, this is mastered by Kevin Gray at Coherent Audio, it says on the sleeve. But when people come over to my place and they wondered about the quality of vinyl, and if it's a dinner situation, I want to put some jazz on. And then when people hear how beautiful a record from the 50s can sound, and as a matter of fact, that it sounds better to what they have experienced with sound in recent years, they are all blown away. And you can take any Blue Note Tone Poet and you'll have the most beautiful experience with sound quality, with packaging, and with titles, because we're talking about the real gorgeous deal here. At number 4, the Blue Note Tone Poet series. Number 3, going towards the even bigger guns. And this is perhaps a bit of a controversial choice, because they haven't released a lot. But what they have released is of the utmost quality. I'm talking about Impex Records and their One Step series. you can recognize it by the thick, this one is for example yellow, but the thick box, a big box surrounding the release, with the record inside and the original artwork. Beautiful, thick packaging. But here it comes. What I'm holding here, for example, is the Stan Getz and Joao Gilberto record, the famous record. And I've heard so many pressings of this. I've heard originals, I've heard the Acoustic Sound Series one, I've heard the 45 RPM Analog Productions one. And honestly, once Analog Productions does a 45 RPM, it's best for any label to leave it alone. Impex didn't do that. They released this one step. And that one step went one step further. It made it sound even better than the Analog Productions 45. Well, if you can top something like that, you are worth a mention. Now, they haven't released a lot of records. You have Jennifer Warren's famous Blue Raincoat, Patricia Barber's Cafe Blue, and Nightclub, and Companion, and there's also this Frank Sinatra record, Sing and Dance with Frank Sinatra. So I challenge them, Impex, continue this. Give us more of these one steps, and perhaps you'll remain in this list for the next decade, or perhaps you'll even go higher, because the quality is stunning. At number 3, Impex with their One Step series. At number 2, I'm gonna go for another controversial choice, but I stand by it, and I think they are doing an incredible job, especially when you look at the sound quality of what they're coming up with. The relatively new series started in 2023 of the Rhino High-Fidelity. For example, I'm holding their Black Sabbath Paranoid here, but this is not the only one that I have of theirs. Definitely not. You can recognize it by the Obi. There's also this beautiful label, which very nice and shiny. Why this in this high up the list? Well, this series is not expensive. They have thick, very thick cardboard, and when you leave in shrink wrap, it's even very hard to get the record back in, but okay, I'll accept that. They give you what they give you here is from the master tapes, mastered by people like Kevin Gray. Perhaps Kevin Gray even did them all. A stunning new vision on records that you know. And for example, this record, Paranoid, I've listened to loads of pressings. I believe of a first German pressing here. I've listened to British pressings. I've heard so many pressings. And when I put this one on for the first time, the amount of details just opened up to me. And I was blown away. Honestly, listening to songs like Warpix, Paranoid, Planet Caravan, Iron Man, Fairies Wear Boots, Hand of Doom, in this shape, after listening to this band for the last 22 years, this felt like falling in love. Honestly. And I've had the same thing with their Black Sabbath. And their Ole Coltrane. I have an original Ole Coltrane here, and I compared it to their Ole Coltrane. Man, what a stunning job. They did great jobs on other records as well. ZZ Top, Tres Hombre, or the first record by the Stooges. And you know what? Are you paying Mobile Fidelity Sound Lab one-step prices for these? Are you paying $150? No. $40. They are that cheap and that good that I import them and I pay for the import costs, because you do not want to leave these alone. You want to listen to your favorite albums in the best way possible. And they make it possible. And it's not expensive. Man, what a beautiful series. And I'm keeping a close watch on what they're bringing, because it is worthwhile. At number 2, the Rhino High-Fidelity. And I'm going to number 1. And at number 1, we do not have the Mobile Fidelity Sound Lab one steps. No. Why not? Honestly, the Mobile Fidelity Sound Lab one steps was a series that really got my enthusiasm. I have some of their here. I really love their Janis Joplin Pearl. I fell in love with their Blood on the Tracks. I was stunned to listen to what they did with Marvin Gaye's What's Going On or Mingus by Charles Mingus. And those were the boxes that were really, really cool. And we're talking about late 10s, early 20s. They were really, really cool. The last couple of years, first of all, their titles have been becoming more of a repetition of records that they already released, so it's not that interesting anymore. And also, I've listened to some of these one steps, and the mastering that was done, that is of no value whatsoever. I know that there's this whole thing with the digital step in there, and there's some controversy, and that made a lot of people doubt their quality. Well, their Mingus has a digital step in there, and although I really get thrilled by an all analog situation, and I trust that more than a digital step, proof is in the pudding, proof is in the pudding, and they did some great records with a digital step in there. So that's not the main thing for me. The main thing is the end result. Smiley face equalizing. I listened to their Hotel California by the Eagles Hotel California, and it's nothing. It's soulless. You do get a lot of detail because of the 45 RPM, but the entire mastering makes it thin and manipulated, and I'm not listening to something that is authentic or resembles what I guess the master tape would sound like. And I've had it with more records of theirs. Their Elvis in Memphis. Come on, that was an incredible letdown. And I've had a lot of these one steps that were a letdown. As a matter of fact, the last couple of months, I've been starting selling some of these records. I've sold about 5 of theirs. Their Blood, Sweat and Tears one step comes nothing close to the sound of an original or an Analog Productions. They really, really went too easy on these. So sorry about that, but they are not in this list. But what is on top? At number 1, I think a lot of people already saw this coming. The UHQR series by Analogue Productions. Now, this is a 2018 version of Access Bold as Love by Jimi Hendrix, and just receiving, especially one of these old boxes, thick box. They made them thinner, I believe. I don't have any of the thin one yet, but such a big box. The entire thrill of getting the record out. And then a beautiful version of the original packaging. Sometimes there are stickers, and or not stickers, there are photos, you get some packaging, you get a booklet, and of course, most important, you get the records on 45 RPM. I believe, or is this one 45 RPM? It should be, right? I think I haven't played this one in quite some more time, because this is a great sounding pressing, but I also found an original, and I really fell in love with the original. Yeah, this is a 33 RPM, but they also did some amazing 45 RPMs. What a wonderful treat. When a UHQR is being announced in my friend circles, that is news. You talk about it. And though we're not buying all of their titles, we are considering all of their titles. And they are worth considering because so many times they beat the sound of originals, and they even beat the sound of originals that have been mastered back in the day for their original release by brilliant mastering engineers like Bernie Gruntman or Bob Ludwig, for example, with their Steely Dan series. Even though we have them in great shape, you do want to hear a UHQR. 33 RPM or 45 RPM, because they have something to offer that is unique. A Analog Productions UHQR is a party and a milestone in the year of an audiophile vinyl collector. So at number 1, Analogue Productions with their UHQR series. So I'm curious, what do you think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Leave a comment below and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.